Yo, what's going on, guys? And today we're doing another mock draft. As you guys know, I'm about to start ramping up my 5th year of NBA draft content. I post over 100 videos every single year regarding every single prospect, rankings, best defenders, best shooters, etc. And now we're going to do a mock draft. I have not released my first mock draft. I released my first mock draft in, about right before the start of March Madness. I'm about to start releasing my guys. Some people think I start too late. I like to start draft content right after the start of the new year, which I have started, around December, January. And then I start producing my own, write-ups and everything and videos around the start of, the end of February, start of March. So let's get right into it. Shout out Sam Vicini. And right now we're seeing ourselves, a guy in Victor Wembanyama who's an absolute dog. We're not going to spend too much time on him, all right? But he's 7'4". He's a center. And he's averaging 21.9 points, 9.6 rebounds, 3.2 blocks, 47%. And the only thing, his weakness is his consistency of his shot and his ability to make passing reads on the move. But besides that, the guy's a great prospect. Scoot Henderson, guys. This guy would be a number one in so many other drafts. People say he's got the athleticism of John Moran, Derrick Rose. Basically, this guy is averaging 19 points, shooting 46.5% from the field, 6 assists. Guy's a dog, and they have the Pistons getting him there. At 1, they have the Rockets. Personally, I want the Spurs to get Vic, and I want the Rockets or I want the Rockets or the Jazz to get Scoot. Spurs, here they have him getting Brandon Miller, who's said to be the safest guy in this draft, large because he's incredibly productive and super efficient. He's averaging 19 points, 8 rebounds, 2 assists, and shooting almost 43% from 3. God damn. Okay, I know he's not a great defender, but he's getting there. For Eamon Thompson. Eamon Thompson, I've heard he's a more athletic and a better scoring version of Ben Simmons, and shorter, obviously, but that's the comparison I've heard, and he's an absolute menace. So I want to hear you guys' thoughts on Eamon Thomas. Going at 4. At 5, it's Jarace, right? Jarace Walker out of Houston. He's a 6'8", just strong ass big. And he's shooting 43% from 3, so he shows you can be a 4 and a small ball 5. Cam Whitmore, I think he's another, safe guy. He's going to Villanova, so he's fundamentally sound. He did suffer a thumb injury, but he's averaging 14 points, almost 49% from the field, and 42% from 3 on 5 attempts from there. And he's a good scorer, and he's showing that he can play defense, but there's still things to be desired. And here's Anthony Black. Anthony Black is, I think, the Josh Giddey, the Tyrese Halliburton, the biggest steal of this draft, and I think he should fly up. I would love my Wizards to take him. The guy's an insane defender, switchable, can guard 1 through 3, maybe even 4 if he puts on some muscle. And the thing is he's an insane offensive player, and his shot isn't broken. His mechanics don't look awesome, but go to a team that has a good shooting coach, he's going to be good, all right? I'm telling you right now. I don't want to make these videos too long. Asar Thompson. So Eamon's more the guard version. Asar's more the wing. And he's shooting below 30%, but he's a good defender, switchable, and he's a great player. Keontae George, he plays for Baylor, and he's a good defender, and he's creative. A lot of people have been comparing him to Eric Gordon. I like the guy. Comes out of Baylor, so he's going to be fundamentally sound. Next up, Grady Dick. I think this is a little high. I go to the University of Kansas. I personally think Grady Dick is a bigger / better defensive version of Kevin Huerter, and I don't think that's any disparage or anything. I think he's a bigger version of Kevin Huerter. I think Kevin Huerter's 6'7", Grady Dick 6'8", okay, and he's a good rebounder. He's a better rebounder than Huerter, and he's a good defender. But I think he's going to be a guy that could go between 10 and 19, depending on how he does in March Madness when teams start to hone in on him. So that's something I think you guys should keep him. But Kevin Huerter right there. Kassan Wallace. And one of my friends loves him. He's a great shooter, and he can score and do a plethora of things. So for me, I think this is a guy that people should keep an eye out. I think he could be an immediate impact player for a lot of teams. Besides that, I also think, a guy like Nick Smith down here He's got some knee injury concerns, but he's an absolute scorer, and I think Jamal Murray style game's a good comparison. I don't think they're similar players, but they got a similar game. Behind Victor Wembanyama, Ryan Rupert's the best international player. New Zealand Breakers, 7'3" wingspan on 6'7" wing. Okay, and he's a decent defender. He's grew up as a point guard and now he's a wing. I really think this guy could be like a supersized version of Quentin Grimes and as a wing, maybe even like develop into like an OG Anunoby type player for me with better ball handling skills. So he doesn't turn 19 until May, and he's in the next star NBL. He's reached out and grabbed all his opportunities. Jalen Hood Shafino is a guy who's been climbing up the boards, and he's just been solid. Okay, averaging 15 points, 3 rebounds, and 4 assists. Like, he's balling. Jed Howard's arguably one of the best shooters in this draft class. He's a very bad defender and doesn't rebound well, but if you need a shooter, he's going to come in and start shooting. Chris Murray, he's been climbing up the boards. He's like Keegan, but left-handed and just not as good, but in terms of effectiveness. Bryce Sensabaugh, he's a 6'6" wing, and I've seen comparisons to, he's a good shooter. I've heard some comparisons to like a better shooting Lance Stevenson. I think he could be a good player. Jordan Hawkins is just a shooter, an absolute shooter, and he's not a bad defender. Okay, really, not a bad defender. Taylor Hendricks, you might not have heard of him, but he's a 6'9" forward who can 15.7 rebounds, 2 blocks. He's basically what we thought Rui Hachimura would be. Max Lewis, he's one of the best players from a small school, Pepperdine D1 out in California, where they filmed Zoe 101. And yeah, he's skinny, and he's on a team that's terrible, but what he is he's a lanky guy, can play multiple positions, and honestly, he's just got this NBA athleticism. Derek Whitehead, he's kind of, is Derek or Derek? But Derek, right? And, you're kind of going off of his high school tape. G.G. Jackson, I thought he'd go higher, but, he's on one of the worst high major offenses in the leagues, and his numbers look fine. 15.6 rebounds while shooting a remarkably low 47.4 true shooting percentage and a 6.4% assist rate with a very high over turnover rate. So, like, his defense is, room to desire, but I like it. I think he could go higher. Now, Colby Jones, he could have been a early second round pick, late first last year. He's a do-it-all guy who could play 1 through 4, and I'm a fan of his, so we'll see how everything turns out for him. But, yeah, let me hear your thoughts on Colby Jones if you guys like him. Julian Phillips, he's really done great for Tennessee. Come out 6'8", switchable on defense. You got James Nanji. Yes, James Nanji. High defensive upside big guy from Barcelona. Okay, originally from Nigeria. No relations to Zeke Nanji. Started out in the Hungarian academy before moving to Spain, and he finishes well around the rim, blocks shots. He started 8 games in Liga ACB, and he's a guy who could be like this year's Ismail Kamage, okay, who was drafted by the Nuggets. Derek Lively, he's fallen down the board, but, I could see a guy taking like Duron Sharp, similar range. Kyle Filipkowski, if you want. They're comparing him to a bigger Naz Reid. I like that. Then you got Kobe Bufkin, who's been, a high energy guard. Could be a good defensive, a poor man's Victor Oladipo. Leonard Miller's a 6'10" point forward, and he grabs rebounds. He's got a 6'10" frame, 7'2" wingspan, and he's got a weird shot, but I think he'd get fixed. Terquavian Smith, he probably would have been higher if he went in the draft last year, but he could be like a Tyrese Maxey type guy. And this is the second round. We won't go through it, but if there's any names that you find interesting, let me know. I think, Nikola Duric was a guy who people thought would go in the first. But that's it. Let me hear your thoughts. Like, comment, subscribe. Bye.